Hello, good afternoon. I hope everybody's well. We are in early March sometime. I know that much. I know it's Monday, so I'm doing quite well. I've been engrossed in a slightly mad scientist experiment over the last couple of days. I've been doing my 100 days of collage fodder. And I was watching some videos on YouTube the other day, and somebody was using alcohol ink on paper. I can't remember who or what they were doing even, but a thought popped into my head about alcohol ink and tissue paper and what that might do and what that might look like for making background papers. And particularly, I love transparent papers to collage with, where you can see the layers through one another, as many of us do, I know. So I started having a play with alcohol ink and tissue paper and came up with a lot of different things and effects, which I think I'm going to use. One of the things that really excites me about this is I have these vintage glassine envelopes that are in a pretty sorry state, and I don't know whether they were in a fire or what happened to them, but they have these dark marks on them, and they are beautifully old and torn, and I love collaging with them. Now, if I wanted like faux glassine paper to make pockets with, tissue paper is not going to be strong enough, but it's great for collage. So if I wanted to make a faux aged glassine bag, I would tea stain some deli paper. There are other faux glassine methods, like with clear coat sprays, and you can print on that. That's a Nick the Booksmith tutorial. So there are various ways of doing it. I tea stain deli paper and collage with that, which is a similar effect to this. But on some of these, let me see if I can find one where it happened. Where you've really built up a lot of alcohol ink, you get that shiny finish. And that is really like the faux glassine. So depending on what you use to mix with your ink, which I'll talk about in a minute, and how much of the actual pigment you use, you're going to get different effects. The tissue paper is transparent to start with, and it remains transparent throughout. The more alcohol ink you add, I think it actually increases the transparency. So if we look at some of these with something behind them, this is nice and bold. So there, you can see how the text comes through. Here's a less inked piece. So you can see that creates a more kind of milky film over the text. This is the original glassine. So it is more transparent. Let's have a look at some of the other ones I've made, and we can have a look at how transparent they are at the same time. I think, right, have a look at my desk. It's got stamping and alcohol ink all over it. It's going to have to be cleaned up, but I have been in mad scientist mode, and stopping to clean up is not part of that. Right, I don't know how I'm going to do this, one-handed maybe. So this is actually deli paper, just with alcohol ink straight onto it, with no ink laid down in the background. Right, I'll talk about that in a minute. This is one I've done with some blue, and then when it's dry, I've dripped the ink back on. Can you see? Hold on. Can you see? Can you see the spots where I've dripped alcohol back onto it, and it's made the little holes there? I love that. I love that. And this torn up, I can see making beautiful collage fodder. That was a person. Let's you there. This is darker colours, so this has been stamped with StazOn, and then I've heat set the stamp. I'll show you in a minute. But with the darker colours, you can see you do lose some of that transparency. So the lighter colours or diluting the colours works well. What else is there to see? This was just some tissue paper I'd written on. So this is really inky, and these are some of the first ones I did. So this is really inky. It's written on with a permanent pen. I don't know which one exactly because this was all written on. I pulled it out of a sort of pile of paper, but I've tested various markers with it, and I'll show you that in a minute if I can find it. So some kind of permanent marker, probably a Tombow or something like that, and it didn't move when I laid the ink down. And again, this one has been made with the Ranger ink blending solution. I've made some with isopropyl alcohol as well, and I think there's a slight difference in the finish. So I will show you. Here, just, you know, playing with some different colours. So we've got a lovely kind of earthy green there, and you can see, obviously you might not want text behind it, but whatever you put behind it is going to show through. I'm just using this because it's bold. There's another one. And here I just did a doodle, and I built up the inks, and then I knocked them back a bit by adding clear. I did do this one with isopropyl alcohol, and I did do that with a Tombow brush. Oh no, I didn't. I'm lying. I did that with a pit pen, a broad nib pit pen. Just doodled that down, heat set it a little bit, just because I literally just done it. I think if you were going to do it a little while later or draw it the day before, you wouldn't need to worry about that. I don't think there's anything else much different to show you down here, except for I can't. Oh, here's the piece with the experiments on. So that's the idea, and I'm just going to do a couple of bits to show you on camera. So I'll just get rid of that and just talk about the differences between. So I did stamped with StazOn and stamped with archival, and I heat set them briefly. Maybe I didn't do it for long enough, and you can see I think there's a bit of bleed there from the StazOn, and I think there's also a bit of bleed from the archival. I think the archival's held up better, although that was slate grey, not black, so the colour is correct. So they're both not bad, and I think possibly with leaving them a bit longer. In fact, I think that's bled more, the archival. Now I look at it again. And then I just tried different pens. Now, unsurprisingly, the Sharpie ran because it's an alcohol marker. I just had I used what I had nearby, which was a Uniball Air pen, a Unipin Fine Sepia, Tombow brush, a Staedtler pigment liner, a Pitt Artist pen, and platinum carbon ink, which just happened to be the different permanent inks I had to hand. And you can see, apart from the Sharpie, everything there was absolutely fine when I did the technique over the top. Now, obviously, the Ranger blending solution is yeah, obviously it is expensive. So using isopropyl alcohol, mine is 99% apparently. So this is, sorry, I got some ink in there, so it's pink. The alcohol blending solution from Ranger, yeah, it's not, you know, it's expensive to use for this technique. So I think when I've used all isopropyl, no, all of the blending solution and no isopropyl alcohol, it's given me a slightly shinier finish and more true to glassine, if that's what I'm trying to imitate. So I think I might do small pieces that look like glassine if I want to use that when I've run out of the real stuff. But I think if I'm just making sort of general collage material, I will use isopropyl alcohol for expense's sake. So what I've used is just very inexpensive tissue paper. I'm just getting these out of the way. Right, I've got a very messy, doesn't look like I used something over my table, but I did. I've got a very messy box lid here, and that's totally the wrong way around for you. So let me center that there. Okay. So I've got ones I've drawn on, just a very quick leafy doodle that we can play with. I've got, that's not the one I stamped on, I've got a better version. I've got one with that is stays on that I hopefully have thoroughly heat set. Sorry, I'm just grabbing something and trying not to fall over at the same time. But let's start. Okay, so really thin, flimsy, inexpensive tissue paper. And then I have got, hang on, no, I just need a little bit more in here. So this is isopropyl alcohol I've been using to clean my brush. So I'm just adding a bit more in there. And I'm going to put a little bit more alcohol ink in there. Let's have a look. I haven't got measurements. It's a case of just sort of adding bits, playing scientist until you get something you want. So those are, the brown one was sepia and this one is butterscotch. Okay. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Okay, so I just get the paper wet with this solution. Now there's some other alcohol ink on here from earlier, so that is going to reactivate, and I don't mind that. I like it. And then you can do effects. You can drop in. And I can make some drips and see what they do and see how they spread. Something I quite like doing is using the bottle to kind of draw these random, so they almost look like coffee marks. They wick out in a particular way. If you don't like that and you want that ink to go further, if you start to just tap in with some, or you can dab them with the brush and make them do something different. You can tip the sheet. Now, alcohol evaporates and dries quickly, which I like, but you can manipulate the paint by just, or ink, sorry, tipping and dabbing if you want it to go in a certain direction. Now, after a certain point, if you keep adding, it's just going to be swimming. But one of the things is that alcohol ink dries really quickly. So if you cover your ears for a moment, I'm just going to do this with the heat tool and then show you making the drips to make the paint move away. Now you can do that while it's wet, it does work, but it doesn't always stay. So I've got the best results by doing it this way. So do cover your ears for a moment while or fast forward while I dry this quickly. I'm not going to talk while I've got the heat tool on. Right, that is pretty much dry, but I've got all of this leftover ink here. So we waste not, want not. Just use my brush to grab up that wet ink. And you get some really interesting bits and pieces that way. Okay, that'll do. Right, so this is the one I've just dried. Can't see which side I was on now. This one, I think. Well, I'll see when I put the alcohol on, whether it works or not. Right, so what I want to try and do is drip into here. Okay, now you can see it activating there. So we just want to let it sit for a minute. Or we can just leave it, or I'm just going to quickly dry it again. Okay. So there's your plain one. And, you know, you're going to lay it over an image, over some text, over some book page. Here's some smaller text here so you can see. Can you see through there? I really like it. Really, really like it. Okay, so let's just have a quick look if I can find the pieces of paper that going over the drawing. So I'll just show you over the stamped image very briefly, although I don't think that's anything to write home about. So you can start with a brown, or you can start with something less pigmented like this. This is a bit brown because I've been using it to clean my brush. So if you wanted nothing to be in there, you could go with completely clean alcohol. Now I think we have got a bit of bleed coming off this, so that I'm pretty sure stays on. Okay, so I'm going to try and just get a bit of blue in here. Okay, let's do a bit more of that. So there's that, and then I think maybe with this, what we might want to do is just drop in some of the blending solution in those dark parts. Okay, and then maybe come in with the butterscotch. Sorry, the blue is called denim. Oh. Okay. And then maybe some of my brown mix, just to break up the edges on that. I've just been playing, really. Is that you, Louis? He's got his earphones in, he can't hear me. I think he's hovering outside the door. Right, I probably would put some more butterscotch in that, but I won't keep you to do that now. Sorry, failed to warn you. I'm going to try again. Right, so just wipe that up. I'll let you see this. I think it's quite, whoops. Tissue paper's not the best thing to work with. I think that's quite pretty. Oh, is that? I need to concentrate. I am not concentrating. I think that's quite pretty. Right, and the last one. So, I will just show you how I made the other one like this, which was this one, if I can remember how I made it. This sort of grungy one. Okay, so everything's wet, not completely to the outside. I might not go completely to the outside, but it's not hard to do, though, is it? Right, so this is wet. So I've got, this is lettuce. This colour is called lettuce. So I kind of just drew in the leaves. And added some colour. Now you've got to be reasonably gentle because tissue paper is not very strong when it's wet. So don't like madly scrape at it. Okay. Okay. Let's come back in with this one is called Willow. So it's a bit darker. I think. Doesn't look much different, to be honest. Okay, doesn't want to come out. Let's do this. Then, it's probably a bit much. No, I think I went in with some neat brown. just not thinking about it really, and putting some ink down, seeing what happens, playing. Right, just, you know, you might want to just tap your brush in various places to make it do something different. And you can see that pit pen there is not moved at all. Okay, and I just want to see if I can get a little bit of downward movement in this one. Okay. Oh, oops. Nearly threw it everywhere, and I'm going to do one more blast with the dryer now. And then I'll be back and we'll be done. Wipe that up. So a last step on that would be to sprinkle with alcohol or blending solution and let the ink move and dry again, like I did on the first one I showed you. I think it was the first one I showed you, to be honest. I can't remember now. And you can go back in and do the ink spots that aren't going to spread once it's dry if you wanted to get that sort of splatter effect. And I think on this one, I went back in and sort of splattered a couple of times and dried again, just to sort of build up the sense of layers on it, really. But I haven't seen anybody use alcohol ink on tissue paper before. I'm sure somebody has. I'm absolutely not claiming to have invented anything here, but for me it was an exciting discovery, and now I have a big mess and a giant pile of dyed tissue paper, a burning desire to buy alcohol ink in more colours, and yeah, some clearing up to do, I think, and apologies for that noise. One of my children is using a kitchen device. So I'm hoping to be back in the next few days with some progress on my great big sort of wonky journal that I'm working on, but I have been totally distracted by this for a couple of days. But hopefully I will see you later on this week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.